المرسلين خاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد اللهم وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد، فقد قال أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب عليه الصلاة والسلام من خطبة له وقد تواترت عليه الأخبار باستيلاء أصحاب معاوية على البلاد، وقدم عليه عاملاه على اليمين وهما عبيد الله بن عباس وسعيد بن النمران لما غلب عليهما بصر ibn Abi Artat. Inshallah, we'll start with this khutbah number 25 from Nahj al-Balagha. This khutbah will be in 3 parts. Today, inshallah, is the first portion of it. As you can see, the title of the first portion is the shikayat or complaint against the laziness of the people of Kufa and the weakness of the people of Kufa. Therefore, you've seen over the years, many such names have been given to the people of Kufa. For example, Kufi la Yufi masalan, that people of Kufa, they don't show loyalty. What they did to Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wassalam, what they did to Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam, what they did to Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam, writing all these letters and then backing away. So there are a lot of those things associated with the people of Kufa, but nonetheless, Imam, when he reappears, he will make his capital to be once again Kufa. So it is of that importance. But nonetheless, the people, there's this khasiyat that exists. So Imam, this is where it all began, basically, from the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So he himself complains about the weakness of the people of Kufa. So the khutbah begins sort of giving khabar. As you had seen in the past, the khutbahs, Imam went right into the actual discussion. But here, it sort of starts off with a news or a khabar that is being given. Before the actual words of Imam, there's like a preface or a prelude to the khutbah itself. I don't know why the screen is flickering, but nonetheless, we'll go along with it anyway. So this is how it starts. When Amir al-Mu'mineen received successive news that Muawiyah's men were occupying cities and his own officers in Yemen, primarily Ubaydullah ibn Abbas and Sa'id ibn Nimran, came to him retreating after being overpowered by a person hired by Muawiyah named Busr ibn Abi Artat. He was much disturbed by the slackness of his own men. That means Imam Ali was not appreciative of that. He was disappointed in the slackness of his own men in jihad and their difference with his opinion. So this was a common theme that you've seen in even other wars that took place in the time of Imam. Proceeding to the pulpit, so here, لَمَّا غَلَبَ عَلَيْهِ بُصْرِ ibn Artat. So what Imam did, فَقَامَ عَلِي عَلَى الْمِنْبَرِ. Imam Ali ascended to the pulpit and he said, فَقَالَ. What did he say? He said, addressing the people of Kufa, مَا هِيَ إِلَّا الْكُوفَةُ أَقْبِضُهَا وَأَبْسُطُهَا. What is it? Nothing is left for me but Kufa, which I can hold and extend, which is in my hand to play with, O Kufa. If this is your condition, that whirlwinds continue blowing through you, then Allah may destroy you. Meaning whirlwind keep blowing through you, that every time strong wind comes about, you change your direction. Every time you're struck with some, hard facts or difficult situations, you turn your way. This is how you've been. If that's how it's going to be, then Imam ﷺ says, may God be with you. إِن لَمْ يَكُنْ تَكُونِي إِلَّا أَنْتِ تَحُبُّ عَصِيرُكَ فَقَبَّحَكَ اللَّهُ وَتَمَثَّلَ بِقَوْلِ الشَّاعِرِ. Imam says, if that's the case, then may Allah destroy you. Then he illustrated with the verse of a poet. The poet said, لعمرو عبيك الخير يا عمرو إنني على وضر من ذا الإناء قليل. He said, O Amr, by your good father's life, I have received only a small bit of fat from this pot, fat that remains sticking to it after it has been emptied. Analogy that nothing good has been taken from this pot right here, and only wastage has been recovered from it. So, a khutbah at a glance. I don't know why the screen is acting this way. I'll just leave it as is. Okay. If you look at the khutbah at a glance, some commentators of Nahj al-Balagha, such as Ibn Abil Hadid, believe that this sermon was given and delivered by Imam Ali after the Battle of Siffin, what he has seen from the people of Kufa, following the arbitration issue between the Hakamain, Amr As, and the one who was representing Imam. And then following that, the conclusion of the Khawarij affair. So Imam after that, what else was there for him to say? It is considered one of the last sermons of Imam's noble life. Syed Rizvi has written at the beginning of the sermon, it is also well understood that Imam delivered this sermon at the time when he had received numerous reports about the dominance of Muawiyah's forces over Islamic territories. At the same time, Imam's representative from Yemen arrived, as was mentioned the name of the two individuals who were at that strategic place. Muawiyah hires this man, Busr, the commander of Muawiyah's army, a brutal man who pushes them back. Ibn Maytham, another commentator of Nahj al-Balagha, regarding the reason of the delivery of the sermon, states a group in the city of Sana'a, present-day Yemen, the capital of Yemen, were followers of Uthman, third caliph, and they greatly exaggerated the significance of his killing. Their allegiance to Ali was based on deceit and trickery. And so that had to lead to it, the infighting. Although Imam had his men stationed over there, well in command, but of course when you have this resentment and you have this someone to go ahead and bring about guilt in your heart, similar to what Yazid did after the killing of Imam Hussein. What Yazid did, he asked Uqba ibn Muslim to attack Medina. Now nobody was ready to attack Medina. Even a person as evil as Ibn Ziyad was not ready to attack Medina. With all that Ibn Ziyad had done, there's no praise for him. But he also backed down, turned down the offer by Yazid, saying, no, I can't do that. You want me to kill the grandson of the Prophet and then go attack the city of Medina? No, I'm not going to go ahead and combine these two things. He does that. Here, Muslim ibn Aqba, in order for him to be invited, what does Yazid do? He uses the same old story of Uthman. Ya li tharati Uthman. Who is going to take revenge of the blood of Uthman? And right away, we see that the army is gathered. And then they all march towards Medina, and they desecrate the city of Madinatul Munawwara. So when Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, he was the governor of Imam Ali in Egypt, was killed, attacks by the people of Sham on the regions under the Imam's control intensified. So one thing happening in the Yemeni city Sana'a, another thing happening right here in Egypt. The supporters of Uthman who were present in Yemen rose up and began calling to seek revenge of his blood. Ubaidullah ibn Abbas opposed them, ordered their imprisonment right away. Of course, he's the man in charge. From inside the prison, they sent letters to allies within army, urging them to remove Ubaidullah as well as Syed ibn Nimran from his position and openly rebel. Their supporters compiled a large number of people in Yemen, joined them, refusing to pay zakat as well. So all this is happening against illegitimate government of Imam Ali. Ubaidullah and Syed, they wrote letter to Imam informing him of the situation. In response, Imam wrote a letter to them and the people of Yemen and its army, warning them and reminding them of their divine duties. This is now how it works, that you're going to start revolting. They responded by saying, we are obedient to you, provided that these two men are dismissed. O Ali, we'll remain obedient to you. Get rid of these two men. Then these hypocrites wrote a letter to Muawiyah informing him of the situation. In response, Muawiyah sends Busr ibn Artat, a ruthless and bloodthirsty man, towards them. On his way to Mecca, Busr killed Dawood and Suleiman, the sons of Ubaidullah ibn Abbas. So he already is starting his mission by attacking the children of Ubaidullah. And in Taif, he martyred Ubaidullah's son-in-law, Abdullah. So he's already, shown what he's capable of doing. Busr then reached Sana'a in Yemen, by which time Ubaidullah and Syed had already left the city, saving their lives, appointing Abdullah ibn Amr al-Thaqafi as their successor. Busr, along with his army, attacked Yemen, seized it, and martyred Abdullah. All this, of course, would have happened to Ubaidullah and Syed had they stayed back. Fan on kar dijiyega. Fan on kar dijiyega. When Ubaidullah ibn Abbas and Syed arrived in Kufa to meet Imam Ali, Imam reproached them for abandoning their position. And then he ascended to the pulpit and he delivered this sermon. So this was just the historical background of it. Just the 3 lines in it, so I'll go through these 3 lines very quickly. The first section, Imam alayhi salatu wasalam begins the commentary, will begin the commentary. Imam alayhi salatu wasalam in this section of course, he talks about the hypocritical and the rebellious individuals within his army, but he starts by complaining and invoking upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, what can I do with your hypocrisy and defiance? Considering what has been said about the context and the atmosphere surrounding this sermon, the interpretation of the Imam's opening statement becomes very clear. He states, مَا هِيَ إِلَّا الْكُوفَةُ أَقْبِضُهَا وَأَبْسُطُهَا. Due to the defiance, disobedience, weakness, and hypocrisy of the people, nothing remains under my rule except for Kufa, which I hold together and open as I will. Why had the Imam's army in Iraq and other regions reached this miserable state? Is he not, a better caliph or the ruler or the leader? Is he not better than anyone who preceded him or anyone who will ever come after him? Is he not the most just of all of them? قُتِلَ عَلِيٌّ فِي الْمِحْرَابِ لِشِدَّةِ عَدْلِهِ. In fact, he even asks Ibn Muljim, was I not a good Imam to you? Then why such a state? There were various causes and reasons behind this painful situation, which will be, of course, explained in the later part of this sermon. A great man like Ali facing such a situation. So, if Imam Ali can face such a situation, then this gives you and I some hope that when we run into problems and troubles like this, we shouldn't just run away. We shouldn't just hide away. We shouldn't just, seclude ourselves. Ali, a person like him, is facing such a situation where his own people are revolting, rebelling, leaving him, even though he's the most just leader. So the significant issue here is that a great man like Ali, والسلام, with all his bravery and wisdom, found himself in such a dire position against the enemies of Islam, solely because he lacked sincere, loyal, courageous, and determined forces. If you track back a little bit, the time of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba والسلام, that he made the peace treaty with Muawiyah, a lot of time, if you don't study the history properly, you understand that Imam Hassan is portrayed as a peace-loving, laid-back, someone who avoids war and confrontation and conflict at all cost. On the other hand, Imam Hussein is aggressive one. This is how they present it, right? On one hand, you have Hussein, who rises, stands up. On the other hand, we have Imam Hassan, na'udhu billah, timid, shy. This is the picture that represents. No. Awwaluna Muhammad, Awsatuna Muhammad, Akhir. They're all Muhammad. They all act the same way. There's no difference. Especially when the situation demands it. Imam Hassan Mujtaba was ready to go fight Muawiyah. But his own people started leaving him and rebelling. So what is he left with? When his own people have left him and stranded and abandoned him, you think he's going to go ahead and take on his staunch enemy, get his men people killed? So the best option available at that time was to go ahead and bring Muawiyah to table, make him sign that treaty. That was the best that Imam could have done for his community and to protect himself and his people, and also, force Muawiyah into this binding, this treaty, so he doesn't step beyond it. If he does, which he did, then he will be labeled as someone who breached the document. So here, coming back to this khutbah, the situation deeply troubled all those who were devoted to truth, justice, Quran, and Islam. The phrase aqbaduha wa absatuha, which comes from qabd, which means to take, and basat refers to authority and governance. This expression, Imam makes it clear that the other regions were no longer truly under his control. Kufa is the only place that is under my control. But majority of the people that Imam had hired to go out were also from this very city, even though they were technically considered part of his territory. Kufa, his only stronghold, yet unreliable. That's where the dilemma all lies. All the other areas that are far away, Yemen and Egypt, they are going out of my hand. Kufa is the only place that is within my possession. But here people are unreliable. Imam continues by saying, In lam takuni illa anti tahubbu aasiruka faqabbahakillahu. He said, O Kufa, if you are my only stronghold against the enemy, and even you are constantly struck by storms, may your face be disgraced. And I wish you did not exist at all. These are strong words from Imam. This statement indicates that even Kufa, which was Imam's main stronghold, was not free from the storms of discord and disunity, rebellion, hypocrisy, to the extent that Imam could not even rely on its own people. And how difficult it must have been for someone who was a mountain of knowledge, wisdom, strategy, faith, bravery, yet was forced to lament in such manner due to lack of loyal companions. A lot of people mentioned right after the demise of Rasulullah, when Imam's right was usurped, many who were still loyal to Imam Ali, on and off, they would come to Imam and say, "Oh Imam, why don't you rise? We're with you. We'll stand with you. We'll accompany you. We'll fight alongside with you." And Imam would test them differently. He said, "Well, tomorrow, all of you come back with your heads shaved," right? Only 4 people showed up. So Imam famously said, "If you can't give your hair for me, how are you going to give your necks for me?" Right? There's no loyalty. Loyalty, then, other examples in the time of 6th Imam, that man Ibrahim Makki going inside the tanur, showing utmost level of respect and command and obedience to the commands of Imam of the time. Imam then cites this, a well-known poet's verse, as an analogy: "By life of your noble father, O Amr, I have left with only a small portion from that vessel." The term wadara could refer to the remaining grease left in a container or in the hand, the few drops of water that cling to the walls of a vessel after it has been emptied, the lingering scent of food left in a pot. Everything else has been eaten. Kind of like after weddings, shadiyon ka khana, everything has been eaten, whatever is left behind in these empty vessels and pots. In any case, Imam is emphasizing that Kufa and its people were an insignificant remnant compared to the vast Islamic world at that time. You guys, Imam is referring to the people of Kufa, you guys are that remnants that is left behind after everything has been eaten up. That grease which is left behind, that's what you are. That little bit of water, clinging to the sides of the vessel. No leader relying solely on such people could preserve the vast Islamic state or to protect it from the bloodthirsty wolves disguised as men. This was the first portion of the khutbah number 25 from Nahj al-Balagha. Inshallah, we will discuss part 2 and part 3 in the days to come. Wa akhir da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.